Hello, 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 everyone, and happy fabulous Friday to everyone. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Um, we gotta wake up and ready to get this thing rolling, get this thing moving, doing what God has called us to do. So I'm coming on here today, not too long. I just wanted to come on and give you a Fab Friday word of the day, something that God has just really put in me very, very strongly to share, to encourage, to uplift, to build you up in this season of your life. Thank you for tuning in. I am Prophetess Trish Morissette of Trisha Ministries. Thank you for joining me. Please make sure to share this post. Invite your followers, invite your friends to watch this with us, okay? And so I'm going to come to you really quickly. I got this word. God has really put this in my spirit, and He's given me this to share with you. Hello, Valerie. Thank you for coming on, woman of God. I appreciate you. Thank you. I'm live also on Periscope. Thank you all for tuning in. Please make sure to share. Please make sure to show some love. I'm going to give you this word, and as you notice, the topic of this is what you gonna do. What you're gonna do? What are you gonna do in this season? Let me just give it to you how God gave it to me. For some of you, you are in a season or in a now time, right here, right now, where you are going to have to make some decisions, like some serious decisions. Some of them, what God has given me is that they're going to be life-changing decisions. And some may be serious, some you might not even think is that serious. It's just something you got to choose to do, so to speak. But God is saying, whatever it is, He said in this season, some of you are going to have some what is going to be life-changing decisions to make. Meaning that you got to choose, and y'all catch me now, you got to choose to walk on faith like never before. This is going to challenge your faith. Many of you are a little too comfortable with where you're at. You're a little too comfortable with what you're doing right now. And God is saying that for this next level, you got to make a decision. What you going to do? Are you going to trust God, or are you going to stay comfortable with where you're at? What are you going to do? This is a challenge for you. This is a challenge because this next move is going to be one of the best moves you could possibly make. You know, I was sharing this with some other people. I was like saying that God is really about to challenge us in this next season of our lives on making a decision to trust what He is doing. Some of you, it could deal with relocation. It could deal with businesses, churches, ministries. I don't know. I want you to think about what is it that you know that God is kind of put in your spirit to do, but sometimes we like to sit on that thing that God gave us to do. God is challenging us to really think about some of the stuff that He's put in you. Some of you been sitting on ideas, gifts, and talents for umpteen years. And God is saying, now is the time. What are you going to do? Are you going to still think on that thing? Or are you going to actually be like Nike and just do it? You have got to make up in your mind that this is the season that I'm going to make the right decision in regards to my marriage, in regards to my finances, in regards to my health, my well-being, in regards to my business, my ministry, whatever it is, in regards to a relationship, because God has given us something in regards to relationships and people. And we are not paying attention to what God is saying. You have got to pay attention to the still small voice that has been speaking to you in this season, in this time, and in this hour. If you ignore the still small voice, then that's on you. But God is saying, I am challenging you to go beyond what you can see and get to what you can't see. Because what you can't see has everything to do with faith. What you can see has everything to do with comfortability. All right. So what you can see right now has allowed you to be comfortable in the place that you're in. What you can't see has everything with you going to another level in your faith. And let me tell you, God gave me this to share. He was like, if you really believe that I am who I say I am, then you'll really believe that I can do what I say I can do. I'm going to say that again. God said, if you really believe that I am who I say I am, then you will have no problem knowing that I will do what I say I'm going to do. Here's the problem. And then God began to speak to me about this thing. He said, here's the problem. Many of us are like the disciples. In the word when he was talking about walking on the storm that had arisen. Now watch this. It talks about Jesus calming the storm. And Jesus and Mark, what is this? Mark chapter 4. In Mark chapter 4, it talks about Jesus calming the storm. And I want y'all to hear this. Somebody is going to catch this today. This is not going to make you shout, scream, or whatever. I really want you to think right now. I really want you to think. In Mark chapter 4, Jesus calmed the storm. It says that day when evening came, he said to his disciples, let us go over to the other side, right? Watch this. Jesus just changed their location. Jesus just changed what they were doing. He said, therefore, let us go to the other side. Meaning in this season, Jesus is saying the same thing. Let us go, because you're not alone in this decision. You're not alone in what you're about to do. Jesus is saying, let us go, right? You are his disciples. You are the ones that are on this boat right now. I want you to pay attention. He said, let us go to the other side, meaning we got to change our position. Leaving the crowd behind, meaning that in this season, you're going to have to leave someone behind. See, this is prophetic. God wanted me to bring this out prophetically to you. Let us go to the other side, because there's a destiny waiting on us. And then it said, leaving the crowd behind, meaning I'm leaving some folk alone, meaning that I don't care what it is. If you know God said, leave them folk alone, you be at peace with you leaving them people alone. And not alone. Don't you let nobody turn you back to somebody or something that you know God told you to leave for whatever reason. He said, therefore, let us go. Watch this. So he said, let's go to the other side. They left the crowd behind them. And they took him along, just as he was in the boat. It says there were other boats with him, but then there was a furious squall that came up. The waves broke over the boat so that it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. And the disciples woke and said to him, teacher, don't you care if we drown? Let me park right there. Y'all walk with me on this. Jesus says, let us go. Okay, so that's a challenge for you. Go. So you go, you get in the boat with Jesus, you rolling with Jesus, we rocking with Jesus, we doing what we doing, because this is a faith thing. This is going beyond where we are. And so when he says, let us go, and then they go, now watch this, in the midst of you going to another place, in the midst of you making that decision to do what God told you to do, watch what happens. Something begins to get chaotic, right? But this was God, right? But then God tell us to go. Then God tell me to start this business. Then God tell me to stay with this man or stay with this woman in my marriage. Then God tell me. But then as he told me to go, as he told me to do, then I see the turmoil and the thing. So look, in this season, when God tells you to go and do, you do it. And when the storm arises, right? The storm arises. You cannot get weary in where you're at. You cannot. You got to remember that this is the position that God told you to go to. He said, let us go. Not you by yourself, because he knew that in the going that the storm would come. He knew that in the going that you would have to leave some soul ties, some people that you're closely connected to. Soul ties don't mean sexual ties all the time. Soul ties just mean people you just love, you got a connection with, you've been friends with forever. He said, leave behind that soul tie, because where I'm taking you is a different place, is a different location. So I'm going to go back to the beginning when he said, let us go. So when we go and when the chaos hit, you got to remember that I'm with you, right? And so the disciples remembered that Jesus was with him. But in the midst of him saying, let us go, while we going, Jesus, you at peace and I'm frustrated. How is that happening? How is that possible that in my decision this decision that you told me to make. I made the decision. I'm going, I'm doing. And then all of a sudden, I know you're still with me because you sleep, which technically means that you're at peace with the chaos that I'm going through. But for some reason, I feel like I'm going through it by myself. But Jesus, then the disciples look and they see him at peace. They see him sleep. And they said, now, Jesus, don't you care? Right? Let me say what they said. He said, teacher, don't you care we drown? And it's like Jesus is saying, yeah, I care that you drown. But watch this. I want y'all to get this. Jesus was with them the whole way. Jesus was with them the whole way. When Jesus told you to go, when Jesus told you to do, he was with you in the go. He was with you in the do. But then when the chaos came, we forgot that he was still with us because he's not feeling the franticness that we feel. He's not feeling the frustration that we feel. He over there sleeping, calm and peace. He didn't put on the fruit of the Spirit because he is the Spirit, right? So he walking in the fruit of the Spirit like it ain't nothing. While we walking in the fruit of the Spirit, we walking in our own flesh with chaos, with panic, with anxiety. Okay, so walk with me. Watch this. They said, don't you care? And like we'll get to God and we're like, God, don't you see the situation? Don't you see these people talking about me? Don't you see these people hurt me? Don't you see my bank account? Don't you see this man acting a plum fool? Don't you see this woman just acting like she done lost her mind? Don't you see? Don't you see? Don't you know? Don't you care? Don't you? God, I need you to do something. And so the word says that he got up, that he rebuked the wind and said to the waves, quiet, be still. Then the wind died down and it was completely calm. He said to his disciples, why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? And then they were terrified and they asked each other, who is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him. Now watch this part right here. This is what's happened, right? You're in a situation. You cry out to God. These people are crying out to God. God, don't you care? Don't you know? Don't you? And then when God did it, right? He rebuked, he did everything that he did. The disciples asked one of the stupidest questions you could possibly ask. They said, who is this? That even the waves and the sea answer or whatever answer to him. But watch this. In the previous chapter, Mark chapter 3, they just saw him do miracles, signs, and wonders. Then they get in the boat where they had to make a decision to go. They get on the boat. They had to make a decision to leave. They had to make a decision to adjust. They just saw Jesus do all these miracles. They just saw him do these wonders. They just saw him. But in the next chapter, when he say, okay, now you got to make a decision for me. You got to decide to leave this place where you're at. You got to decide to get to another level. You got to decide to let some folk go. You got to decide to do what I told you to do, no matter what other folk feel about it. He said, let us go. So now I'm putting the ball in your court. Now I'm asking you to make a decision. So we as the disciples, we make a decision. We make a decision and we say, okay, God, you say do this, I'm going to do it. So let us go. We backing him up. Now we feeling good. Like, okay, God, this is a faith walk. This is a faith walk. This is a faith walk. God, I'm with you. God, I'm with you. This is a faith walk. And then we make that decision and God said, you're going to have to make this decision. And when we make the decision and then the storm comes, it's like we forgot about the God that just healed the man in the chapter before, the man with the hand, the man that you weren't even supposed to do it on the Sabbath, but God, we forgot that he was the same God that just healed somebody. He was the same God that told us to make a decision, to step out on faith and do something. He was the same God who said, leave behind them folk. I don't care how much you love them. I don't care how much you care about them. I need you to leave behind them folk, and I need you to do what I tell you to do. He was the same God that produced the healing, the miracles, the deliverance, that told you to go and do something that's going to take you to the next level. But when that next level hits you, when it hits you and the storm comes, you forgot that he was all of that in the previous chapter, and you looking like, don't you care? He was like, man, look, I'm the one that even told you to go. What makes you think I don't care? What makes you think I'm not with you? Am I not the one who told you to let us go? You didn't do that on your own. You were obedient to me. But now you done forgot the one that whispered in your ear. Now you done forgot the way maker. Now you done forgot that I am, that whatever you need me to be, that's what I'm going to be. If you need me to be this in this season, that's what I'll be. But you forgot because you had a little chaotic moment going on there. And because of the chaos surrounding you, and then I come in and I calm the storm, the disciples like, well, who is this? Who is this anyway? That lets me know, did they really believe that he is who he say he is, and that he could do what he says he can do? Because in Hebrews 11 chapter 1, it says, in chapter 1, I think it's verse 11, it says, for those that come to God must first believe that he is God. And so the disciples are looking like, well, he just healed this person. He just did all this. He fed all these people. He did all these miracle signs and wonders. And then he's going to speak to me and tell me to do something I'm a little scared and nervous about doing, but yet I do it anyway. And then when all this stuff come, I forget that he was the one that provided in those few chapters ago. I forget that he was the one that healed, the one that delivered. I forget that he was even the one that whispered in my ear to go and do what I tell you to do. And then when this hits me, I completely forget all of that, because all I know is in this moment, he's not being that to me. But then I forget in Hebrews 11, it said, before I come to God, I got to first believe that he is, and that he's a rewarder. The word says he's a rewarder of those who diligently seek me. So in the midst of you making this decision and you getting to where God needs you to be, there may be some trial, tribulation, situation come up, but you got to remember that he is who he is. That in the midst of that he told you to do it, that he's walking with you, that he's not forsaking you. And the disciples said, well, who is this? Don't have one of those moments where God does something and you wonder, who is this that is doing this? Like you second guess your own faith, because you started out strong and believing and trusting, but then you have to be like, well, who is this that can do this? Do you really know that God is in the midst of your decision making? Do you really know that he can change the winds, that he can change everything that's going on around you? Or when he does it, will you go back and say, now who is this now again? Or be like the disciples. He just did all those miracles. And they say, well, don't you care that this is going on around me? Can't you do something about it? Why you got to ask him if he can do something about it if he can, when he just did all these things before? So now your faith is being tried. Your faith is being tested. And in this moment of going through financial burdens and relationship issues and rejection and abuse, in this moment of going through this, and we forget that, yeah, God cares, but there is something that you got to get out of the brokenness. There is something that you got to get out of the wind. There is something that you got to get out of the waves that's hitting your house, that's hitting your finances, that's hitting you. This is a part of your next level. If you thought your next level was going to be smooth, then God said, yeah, you was deceived, because next level, any transition is always a hard place to be in. Transition is never easy. Matter of fact, transition is a dangerous place to be in. Why do I say dangerous? Transition can be dangerous because if you don't move in the transition, if you don't make the right decision in the transition, you will completely miss out on the purpose of why God had you in the middle of the transition anyway. And it can cause things to happen. It can cause things to shift. It can cause things to manifest because you can handle the transition. Transition is a dangerous place if your faith is not right in that place of transition. Your faith has to go in transition with you, because if it doesn't, you're going to be like Lot's wife. You're going to stand there and become a preservative. You're going to stand there and be immovable and not be able to enter in to the fullness of what God has for you, because she could not transition. She stayed stuck like Chuck and couldn't do nothing. Transition can be a dangerous place, but I'm telling you right here, right now, if you are not experiencing this right now, You will experience it. There is going to be a decision that you are going to have to make soon and very soon that is going to require a transition from you. And if you don't make the right decision, some of us will be like Lot's wife. We're going to be stuck on stupid in a place that God never intended for us to be. God never intended for Lot's wife to stay stuck right there in the midst of going from Sodom and Gomorrah into a new land. He never intended for her to be there, but because it was hard for her to transition, that's why transition can be dangerous. You don't want to be caught on the wrong end of the stick when it comes to your transition. Your transition is this way. Here's the transition going forward, and here's the transition going backward. It's like a stick. If you stuck it out, one part is this way, the other end is back here. You got to decide that the place that God has called you is forward, it's not backwards. And some of us have got to stop looking back. And I'm telling you, what is causing a lot of you to look back is the influence of other folk. God is saying, stop allowing people to influence what I have ordained. Stop allowing people to influence what I told you to do. And you know good well that it was a God thing. It wasn't a you thing, because if it was a you thing, it would be easy for you to do it. But why is it that when we have to transition in God, it's always a challenge? It's always something that's going to challenge us when we go on the journey that God called us to go, when we begin doing what God told us to do. Why is it that it's always a challenge when it's a God thing, but when it's a you thing, you can do it with ease? When it's a you thing, you can act like, oh girl, yeah, I'm about to do this, I'm about to do that, and da-da-da-da-da. But when it's a God thing, well, God, did you really say? God, is it really this? God, do I really? And then it's like, well, if it's a God thing, why you can't do it? But if it's a you thing, you going for broke. God challenges us to get from an Egypt into a Canaan all throughout our life. It's called process. When you come out of one Egypt, you gonna go into a land, right, that's more abundant. But in some point, you're going to enter into a new Egypt, right? Because if you don't continue transitioning, moving forward, and getting all that God wants you to have, you're going to get complacent. Complacency produces an Egypt in your life. And you got to find that point of complacency and say, this is my complacency, which means, in other words, this is my Egypt. I got to make a decision right here in this part of my Egypt. See, watch this. Last season, your Egypt was something else. This season, you got a new Egypt. But if you never fail to realize what your new Egypt is, then you're going to stay. Well, at least I'm eating chicken and I got some crackers and I got this over here. You're going to figure out a way to make you stay stuck in this Egypt. But in God, God is all about transition. So if you transition from one Egypt and going into a land flowing with milk and honey, I guarantee you another Egypt will find this place in your life. And you're going to realize that, okay, God is causing me to transition again. God is causing me to transition because I've gotten a little too comfortable with this. I've gotten a little too comfortable. And so the challenge, the ball is now in your court. Transition can be a dangerous place, but God is telling you, you got to decide today, or some of you, it may be next week. Some of you, it may be the week after that, or next month. But I'm telling you, you are in a season where you have to make a decision. You have to make a God decision. What is God telling you to do? Who is he telling you to cut off? What is he telling you to tap into in this season of your life? What does your next realm look like? Does your next realm look like God, or does it look like you? Because if it looks like you, you're going to stay comfortable. If it looks like God, you're going to get uncomfortable. Think about this. This is a word that will make you think. You got to make a decision, whether now or in the next few weeks. I promise you, God is going to challenge you in some area to make a decision. What will you do? Will you stay complacent, or are you ready to get uncomfortable? Being uncomfortable is not a bad thing. It's called stretching. It's called next level. Next level is never a comfortable place. Right? So I just wanted to share that. What you gonna do? The ball has been passed to you, Kobe. You gonna retire or you gonna keep playing? Think about it. And Kobe is like Kobe. You know, I talk a little ball talk every now and then. Kobe Bryant, who retired this year. You are the Kobe of the day. Or when the God passes you the ball, are you gonna say, "Oh God, what's that? The church finger? I put my church finger up because I ain't ready yet. Let me tap on. Let me go and walk away from this because yeah, church finger. I retire, and then I'll come back. I'll come back and see if I'm ready to come out of retirement. But yeah, will you give God the church finger and walk away, or will you really make the decision to do what God is telling you to do? Know who He is. Know that He's with you. He's never left you nor forsake you. That He, in the midst of the chaos, in the midst of your next level, He is walking and talking with you. Will you have an ear to hear what the Spirit of the Lord is saying? I pray this was confirmation for somebody and that this helped you, because I'm telling you, you're about to have, if you're not already in a season of decision making, you're about to walk into it. All right? So God bless you. I pray that you've been blessed. Share this video, and remember, the prophetic training is open right now. Today is the last day for the early bird registration of $57. It's a 12-month program that you can get into. Join me. Join all the phenomenal people from all around the world as we go higher and grow strong. Hey, for some of you, that might be and you know, the Holy Ghost just gave me this. That might be your decision. What you gonna do? Some of you, God is pulling on your anointing to go higher in the prophetic. And it's like, okay, I got past the ball. You ready to transition, or are you ready to give me the church thing and say, oh God, maybe next year, or maybe, you know, a time after that? What you gonna do? Barbecue mildew. Isn't that the old saying that some folk used to say? What are you going to do? Barbecue or mildew? Check out the prophetic gift zone, a full year's training online. You don't have to come to me. You know, it's all done online. Go to hummmmmm.com, get my 3 free classes, Prophetic 101. 3 free classes. Take them to see what the program is all about, and then register. All right? If you get the Prophetic 101, then you get a code, a coupon code that you can use at any time. But if you just do it, want to get registered, $57 registration fee goes off today. Today is the last day. What are you going to do? Ball is in your court. All right, guys, www.trishhummnow.com. Check it out. Check me out, follow, do whatever you need to do. But share this video. Somebody needs to make a decision. Is it you? Share with somebody that might be going through a decision-making process right now. Let this be a word of confirmation for them. All right, everybody, I hope you have a fabulous Friday. And don't forget to praise the Lord, because you are here and somebody else isn't. You made it. Keep making it. All right. Bless y'all. Love y'all. And thank y'all so much for joining.